Greetings folks, Flying Doctor here, hope you're doing okay. Now this is a tutorial that begins to look at missions within the H145, which is an area that is still very much developing, and I'm just focusing on the drop some medical staff off, let them have a wander about, pick up a casualty, bring them back into the helicopter and then go elsewhere, because I haven't really mastered hovering. That's a whole different issue, but this is what I do have to say that might interest you. I was not particularly enamoured with the idea of the missions in the H145. To me, I was more interested in the systems and doing the tutorials about the flying, and the kind of missions seemed a bit kind of superficial. In some ways they sort of still do, but when you actually fly them, I found my attitude changed, because well, what the missions help you do is explore an area, but also they'll get you moving really quickly on your ability to fly the simulator well, and especially to land. Now, in previous iterations of these videos, I've noticed that I'm rubbish at saying let's geek into it. I've led let's grease into it, let's geesh into it, but let's get it right this time. Let's geek into it. Welcome to the Flying Doctor channel. So, I thought I'd show you how, if you've not that confident, how to go about finding where the missions are in the H145 tablet. I'm actually going to reverse right out of this now, and I'll bring you back to your main tablet screen. So there you go, it's main tablet screen. You've got a little button here, maps and missions now, just next to the big circle, maps and missions. Click on that and it's gone back to my screen. Doesn't really matter where it is, but effectively that will bring up this screen here with a list of icons to the right and a map below it, and it won't have yet a start and target. Don't worry about that, I'll show you that later. Now we are looking at the basic missions that are on offer within the H145, and as I say, this is continually being updated. If you've not come across the tablet before, there are a few little changes. You've got some settings here that will let you adjust the update rate for the mission map, which is below. That can be on high and or low performance. You can have smoke flares. I suggest you have smoke flares on. You'll find it really difficult to find your landing location without this. Not impossible, but difficult. And mission fire quality, where you've got fire, is down to high. Data query service, this really applies particularly if you're designing missions using the Hype Operations Center. That's where you'll most obviously see it. But on the tablet here, these are the services that the tablet uses to find the nearest, say, hospital, for example. But we'll come to that later. So yeah, that's the first settings tab. Missions library tab we'll come back to later. The map has an opportunity to create different layers, which are fantastic. One of the things I really like is that you can get a railway line overlay, and if you want to fly following railways, you can have satellite image as opposed to just the simple maps itself. In fact, I kind of quite like that, but I'm going to take the railway line off. So yeah, there we go. And so you have a huge variety of options there for layers. You have an opportunity to orient the map either north or in the direction that the helicopter is facing. And you've got zoom in and zoom out here, and follow aircraft. Not quite sure about that. I'll find about that later. Maybe there's another aircraft that I think that you might be able to, when you see them, if you see them on the tablet here, my guess is you can have aircraft and you can see other aircraft around if you use the Hype Operations Center here. There's not actually that many people in Australia at the moment. There's another aircraft there that's online just outside Sydney here. We're up here in the Gold Coast. Yeah, one little thing that I hadn't covered before, particularly with this, is to say Hype Radio. How does that work? Well, when you are in the tablet here, you're able to select the radio itself. Let's just move back to the main sim. I know that I'm digressing. You know me and my digressings, can't help myself. But if you go to Hype Radio here, you can get nearby stations. Now, I'm not putting them on here because I know that if I put them on and something is licensed, YouTube's going to pick up on it, and I'd rather not have that conversation with YouTube about copywritten music. or them saying, no, you can't earn anything from your video because it's got da-da-da-da in it or whatever. But there you are. There's a whole range, and you're able to actually, should you wish to, you're able to listen to the radio during your mission. I don't know how many pilots carry out their missions and listen to Total Radio 70s or Greatest Hits or whatever, or you can have ABC Double J Queensland. There we are. But actually, having said that, I'm aware that some surgeons listen to music in the background. And so anyway, so that's just that button there. But we'll go back to maps and missions and stay sort of focused. Focus, Langley, focus. Come on. Right, here we go. Right, so the missions themselves, you click on this to missions library. Now, I'm in the HEMS variant here. There is an offshore variant that you obviously can fly. You get that along with the HEMS. Connect to scenario editor on my PC. Always worth clicking anyway, but we are connected, otherwise we wouldn't have seen where we are. But interesting, when I do that, the local radio station channels become clear to me, and I click on those from the desktop in a separate program. Anyway, so yeah, not bad. Right, let's just come back here. If we look at the mission library here and we click on this top folder, we see these are standard missions. Now, there was one here before the latest update, which was patient transfer to hospital. We don't seem to have got that at the moment. But nonetheless, we'll just sort of merrily go along and just see what happens. So you've got some options here, some really simple ones. If you just click on one of these are all the same. I'm not sure about the mountain accident, but the ones that I'm going to illustrate to you are ones where you can land and you don't have to winch. So road accident, near farmyard accident, golf course, I'm sort of assuming you don't have to winch for that, because winching is something else that I'm going to cover in a later tutorial, because I've not mastered it yet, and I still think it's under development looking at the Discord channel. But we can find a farmyard accident and we just click on that, and then it will ask us, there we are, select distance to mission site. All the time I'm seeing improvements to this. The last time I was looking at the tablet, in fact, I was finding that the dialogue screen, and I work in 4K, was larger than the tablet size. So they've sort of sorted this one out. I can say 1 to 3 kilometers away there, and you can see we're just waiting up here. It's something saying setting up the mission, got a little bit of delay. We can accept the dispatch. We can show location on PC. That's interesting. If I click on that in a separate map, I will get a Google map. There you go. And that's telling me exactly where it is. And if you really want to, you can look at that in more detail later. Yes, so you can show the location on the PC, or you can even change it if you're not happy. But I'm going to accept the dispatch there, and we'll just see what goes on. And it's just saying for me to fly to the accident scene. Now, one of the things that's really helpful is that the information on here, if you click on NavD, you'll find that it's featured on the NavD map here. It may well actually come up in DMAP as well. Yeah, that's right. Or NavD, the information that's on the tablet is moved across. That's helpful. Why is it helpful? Because it means that if you want to say look at something else in the tablet, you've still got all of your flight details there. And also have a look at this, but I think it is possible. It looks to me like it's possible now to couple here to your nav unit. So say, for example, that you want to get off the ground and you want to follow using the autopilot, you want to follow the navigational route. If you click on that, it should go green. In fact, we might actually try that and just see where we are. So lots of little improvements that are still happening. And that's one of the things, is that there's lots of excitement around missions, but indeed there's still a lot of work to go on, and I sort of found it was a bit kind of clunky to say the least, but it still has in a short amount of time really improved my flying. And it's what led me to actually do the tutorial on, well, hang on, how can we fly without autopilot, because you find you pretty much feel more comfortable doing that after a while. Right, I'm going to lift off now, and I'm just going to illustrate before, and I haven't done this, I'm just assuming that I can do this, so I'm just lifting off here, and I'm just twisting left, and I may well just pause the mission once we get going until I'm near to landing. Otherwise you could be here for some time, or I can just chat as much as we want through there. So there we are. I'm just having a look here. So if I click couple there, it goes to green, and my navigation is all automatically on. So that's really helpful there. This might be helpful briefly as an illustrator if you've not caught up with the previous tutorial on achieving better stability in air, and that is that when I restarted the sim, I found that the AFCS SAS stability level, which I suggest that people adjust, I find that I move mine up to about 30 and I get a much more stable ride, that actually had zeroed itself again. So just a reminder there. And yeah, just a quick interjection, if you've not had a chance to look at the previous video before, one thing you're going to need is very steady flight to be able to fly these missions, but just occurred to me. So back on again I go. See you in a little bit. 2.6 nautical miles out from where we need to be at the moment. I'm not quite sure about the altitude of the target that we've got looking down here. Now if you're in the distance right there, you can see, and this is why I suggest that you have your flares on, because this is our landing site, and that would be very difficult to find if there wasn't a flare. I'm wondering if there'll be easier ways to find such markers in the future, or what happens in real life. You notice just on the left hand side here is a hint. I've just clicked this HTAWS so to get an awareness, because I could see that, you know, we've got kind of peaks and we've got valleys here, so I just want to make sure my altitude was right. So I'm going to drop down now, and we'll just sort of see, looking like quite a steep descent, looking like I'm going to land somewhere around this plantation here. I'm also paying attention to the wind. I'll try and show you that nice and close here. So you can see this double arrow here, that's 20 knots, that's quite a lot of wind. And when I come and land, I'm looking, whatever I do, I might circle, plenty of time. Whatever I do when I'm landing, and we're descending very quickly at the moment, too quick perhaps. But when I'm landing, I am just finding that it's way easier to land into the wind. I'm just lifting the nose as well. I'm just letting you know what I'm doing, just lifting the nose to drop the speed as well, and then we'll see where we are. So I've come around the other side of the what looks like, you know, the farm area, just to see where we're at and think, where can I land? It's a nasty little pylon there, and this is it. One of the things that you're going to find when you are doing these is that you get the sites are randomly picked. I mean, I also use RU Accu season as well, which is why you're going to get I get a much more kind of vivid and more accurate sense of plants and colour of plants for the seasons itself, but it doesn't half interfere with some of the things like this. So what I'm going to try and do is, it looks like my only real landing option, although it's not ideal, is just to come here and give it a little bit more power, just to come up and to try and find somewhere close by that is just near, and we are facing the wrong direction totally for landing, somewhere close by where we can land. And I think, oh, if I can land somewhere here over these trees, tricky though it might be, the better. So we're about to face in. Oh, I can actually see the problem here. Okay. This is actually way easier if you're in 3D. I'm going to lift up, just going to lift up now, see if we can go back a bit. Okay, there's, you can see a person just waving there. Sorry, I'm concentrating a lot, if you're wondering what's going on here, just as we make this landing. As is a good farmyard scene, because not all the farmyard scenes have the scenery. Obviously sometimes it gets obscured, but I'll run with this. Just take our time getting down. There we go. So there we are. I've managed to land around. Obviously, you've got real struggle to find your place sometimes. But now you see we've done all of that, and we're missing on screen. But if we click to this screen here and come back into our missions page, there you go. We get this little button saying switch to hoisting, which I know seems rather counterintuitive because we're not hoisting anywhere. But if we click switch to hoisting, you'll find that the team actually sort themselves out to leave. It's a bit weird, I know, but it works. But you can see we've got there, we've got a rather nice illustration, haven't we, of the helicopter and the man, who's not really twigged, of course, that we've arrived and there's a giant helicopter behind him. But we'll forgive him. We're going to go back into the sim now. You can see it's telling me crew operations are in progress. Now, what I'm not clear of when it comes to not confident with is hoisting at the moment. As I say, the mission app's being updated continually, but I've had real difficulty in either using the auto hoist or the manual hoist. It's got to be really precisely over the target. And despite my skills, certainly my skills are much better with the autopilot and the hover mode, I've struggled to get it going. But I thought the least I can do is just show you a mission, a farmyard mission here, and you can get the idea. The crew operations are still in progress. I don't know what they think they're doing, just having a bit of a laugh. But they usually take a little while, and then things just move on for us. Hover, hoist up the crew and patient. There we go. Select a hospital on a map. Okay, so we saw those two changes there. I'm not sure what is quite going on there, but the fact is that it's probably, yeah, they're back inside the helicopter at the moment. I did actually program some keys in, so I think there we are. We've got a patient down there. There we are. It's not looking too good, but we've got a hold of him now. And there we are, just at the front of the helicopter there. So, yeah, so what we're going to do is locate a nearby hospital. Now, the thing to do here is to zoom in on the map. I'm going to double zoom in from you. This is the bit. It did work when I tried this the other day, and I do know that there is a hospital down here, and we've got a helipad. So if we click on this, my hope is that we find a helipad. I do know precisely where I want to head to. It's a Gold Coast University Hospital. I've used a Flight Sim TO hospital here. This means that we can be confident that we're going to land on a... This is the hospital that we're wanting to get to, that we were referring to. Okay, and I'm going to zoom right in as close as I can go to make that blue come up as much as possible. We might even do one more. And then I click on that. Hey, here we are. We've got a helipad, and we accept that destination. There we go, and we'll zoom back out again, and then we've just got an instruction to fly out to the hospital, and we do have a bearing there. So there we are, and I'm just going to come back out here, and we'll make that trip. It's 7 nautical miles away, so just bear with me, and off we go. So just increase the collective, just keep an eye out, listening up as we lift up, just watching out for what the wind's doing. It's actually calmed down a little bit now, and we're facing into it, so that's easy. Just let myself get up here. Obviously know that I need to turn. Anyway. You can see that where we are, we've got a flare that's just come up in the distance here. And that's where we're headed, and we can see that we're on a building. Okay, so that's where we're headed there. And I'm going to take us off navigation, and I'm taking us off airspeed because I do want to drop our airspeed down quite a lot. So I'm just going to lift the nose. I'm dropping the collective slightly as I do it because I'm wanting to make sure I'm reducing my altitude as well. Okay, that's nice and slow. We're actually down to 20 knots now, roughly 30 knots as we come in. Much more controllable. Reducing down, still the altitude. Nice and gently. Now I'm going to look to just circle round and come back in the other direction. There is a little bit of wind there. It's kind of northeasterly. I think at the moment I'm practicing lots of landings at the moment, and where to position the helicopter. I think when it comes to it, I did notice on the Discord that, you know, some interest in putting time limits down for how long you've actually got to reach locations would be really interesting. And after all, if you are looking to move a patient, you're looking to move them as fast as possible. There's not much point in landing a minute 20 knots, is there, for the last 3 or 4 miles, because you're not used to what you're doing. So I think there's room for added complexity just as we come around here and begin to phase. I'm going to just level here just so I've got an understanding of what's happening. Let's have a look across, see where we are. And we've got a nice little helipad base there. You can just see it. It's behind us now. Okay, let's see what we can do. I've sped up a little bit. Let's just lift the nose. Turn very slowly. Fantastic model. Now here you'll see a trick which I highlighted before. I might highlight before. Remove the screen. You're going to struggle to see with it in place. If in doubt, bring yourself to a hover by lifting the nose. There we go, so I can see where I am at the moment. Of course, you've not got anyone else to guide you as you do this. And how are we doing here? Not bad as we come in, so it's not a steep descent here. I'm not practicing a steep descent. I'm just wanting to arrive. And hint, just give hints as we go along. I'll do this in another tutorial. One of my landing hints is to look through the footwell for where it is that you're looking to land, and keep those things in line. Okay, and we're going to face the wind. There we are. Well, that's not what I wanted, folks. You've got a view of my desktop, but we were there. and I don't know what to do with that. I'm a bit disappointed, really. Do you win some, you lose some. There you go. But welcome to my disorganised desktop. I'll see if I can get back there and model that landing again. Well, there's nothing really lost here, because what I've actually done is set up another mission from the same airport, and but this time we clicked on road accident. So I don't know if you can see just in the distance there's a flare here, and that's where we're flying to. We shall do exactly the same as we did before, and hopefully I can just demonstrate what happens when you arrive at the helipad. A different accident here, or yeah, different sceneries. There we go, we're down and we've flown to the accident scene. We switched to hoisting here, just like we did before, and I'll pause that for you. This time our crew is taking a walk out, which is really nice to see. Now if you come to planning the actual missions using the mission editor, you've got a lot more resources to draw from other than these fire trucks that look a little bit out of place. Is he actually... Oh, he is tending to the wounded. There we go. Right, tempting though it is, I'm just going to pause it here so you don't have to watch this forever. Okay, and once again I've been invited to select a hospital on the map. Let's get right in there. Select the helipad. Accept the destination. It'll do some calculations. Zoom back a little bit so we can see what we're doing here. Off we go. Up we go with the collective. Dip the nose forward a little bit. Just twisty on the stick. And off we go. And we're going to come around the same way. The important thing showing you this is you get an idea of the kind of, you know, we're all struggling. I mean, a lot of people struggle with landings. And my landings are particularly shallow. Hopefully I'll get better at working out descents. But I'm going to come down much the same way as I did before. Just watching the speed. I don't want too much speed, because adjusting speed and altitude at the same time, I find coming close to the helipad is in itself a bit of a challenge. So you don't really want to be going that fast. Okay, let's just turn here very gently. See we're turning into. There we are, we're there. We're quite high still. Let's turn around here. Watch that speed, so I'm lifting the nose whilst we're turning as well. Way easier to make the corrections out of this distance than it is when you're actually nearer the... And then we'll line up. There we go. So still quite high. Just lower the nose. So I'm lifting the nose now, sorry. Let's drop the speed and increase the collective, sorry. Right, okay, let's just line this up here. Same principles before. I like to have the helipad looking at it in the footwell's one really good place to see it. Just coming in at a crawl now. As I say, in VR this is a lot easier because you get a much greater understanding of perspective. go. Increase a bit more power. Get used to how much power you need to put on and what the delay is. The other hint, and firstly a landing is good, but another hint is to think about putting the edge of your aim for the top edge of the helipad marker itself when you come down, because it's really difficult to picture where the skis are in the helicopter itself. And really you want to kind of come beyond the circle if you can. Up. On a cushion of air. On that cushion of air, right, okay. Because you'll see that seemed, you know, when we were landing in it, we seemed as if we were quite far forward, but when you actually lower, you'll see that we're actually not really on the circle. So I'm still working at that. Most important thing is to go back into and open up the tablet here. We've got fly to the hospital, and we've got land at the site and place the engines to idle. You can see that little notice down there. You get the same for most stuff when you're delivering a patient. So come down to here, flick off the safety there. Flick down to idle. Let things run down. Yeah, this is the issue with blending. I think this is, in fairness, I think this is it's a really nice, it is quite a nice helipad, because you can see it really clearly from the air. That's what counts, but the rest of it, as somebody I think looked to do the whole model of the helipad plus other parts, it's really difficult to do. But if you weren't having your photogrammetry on, I think this model would stand independently of photogrammetry, because it's built using, I suspect, photogrammetry within Blender. But I'm not sure about that. Okay, so waiting for the crew to unload patient. There they go. There's the crew unloading patient. I don't know where he's going to go with it. It's up to you, mate. Okay. Oh, we've disappeared into thin air. But that's okay. Let's not expect too much. Oh, look, down there. It looks like there's they've caught a little detail. My guess is that sometimes you can extract Bing's maps data and use it within the Blender model, and you can create a model of a whole area. And I suspect some of that, I don't know, I might be wrong, could be part of the model. And part of the Blender model that is then put through the SDK for the flight simulator to produce the scenery add-on in the end. Don't worry if that's just gone about, you know, over your head, higher than the rotor blades, but yeah, interesting. Anyway, but I'm just really pleased. It's a very identifiable helipad. Now this is it. So you get to mission complete here, and you say submit report. Just click on that. When you submit the report, it will give you time, and done. So where's the report gone? Well, if we go back here to the Hype Operations Center, if we go to completed missions, there you go. There's one of my 7 days ago missions, but they should end up here somewhere. But I can't see them. Where's my completed mission gone? 9 days ago, 8, so we've run out of them. We've run out of them, but usually they would appear here. I'm pretty sure. So here's an example of previous missions that I've done, and I'll report back when I know further information about where your mission sends you up. So that's the basic principle here that applies to anywhere where you're just picking somebody up from the ground. You've got sort of farmyard, golf course, anywhere you pick the location by clicking on the map. A mount and the road accident, they are all pretty much, unless you choose otherwise, land and let people out. Mountain accident, slightly different. I'm going to look to that because I'm not sure that whether the mountain accident has a hoisting option. and hoisting's what I'm not clear on at the moment. But that's a start for some of the missions. We'll dig a bit deeper next time. We'll look at some of the other missions that are available. All right, take care, folks. Hope you're all right, and hope that that was an encouragement to you. Please do subscribe. It's really much appreciated. God bless.